on your paid ads. I've seen the presentation. He's got some solid information. So you guys take notes. I encourage use of the chat. Daryl, if there's any information there that you want people to retain, feel free to copy and paste. You know, people who are developers here. I mean, don't go too
They can
crazy.
have the presentation
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
too.
No,
Oh,
yeah, but like the links at the end, you know, if you wanted people to be able to take that with them, you know, that way they can copy it. But the replay of tonight will be available as soon as I am able to. Oh well, all kinds of folks showing up. So you will have access to the replay. But take notes, make a note of resources.
okay, that's how I undock people. Okay, there.
Because I've seen a lot of people get discouraged towards paid ads, me being one of them. And Daryl's a good guy for helping you unblock those bottlenecks, helping you save money. You know, because it can be a slippery slope to walk onto paid ads unawares because they're constantly making changes to the interface and what have you. So I think you guys will get some good benefit from tonight. I'm going to put our, I should undock. I really should undock the chat as well. Hang on a second here.
Okay, yeah, I did the same thing. Oh, that's easier. Yeah, once you undock everything, Zoom's easier to
I mean,
manage.
there's benefits to both. But anyway, as I was saying, I'll go ahead and put our agenda into the chat so you guys have a rough sense of what's up ahead. And we usually start out calling for problems that people might be experiencing in the WordPress world. Something coming in. Yeah, I was just switching over to that. Back to my share screen. And we'll start out this week we've got some rather basic guidelines. And why don't we start by having somebody read our guidelines? Magic Will, you want to read our guidelines tonight? Just read what's on the screen there.
Sure. WordPress help, web help meetup group. Got a WordPress question, problem, or challenge, or you're an expert with knowledge and experience and the willingness to share it. Join us and ask your questions and discuss topics, issues, and products in the WordPress world. Guidelines. All comments and discussions should be respectful of others. Please add a profile photo to your Zoom account so we can still see your face when you turn off your camera. Please raise your virtual hand if you'd like to speak. Mute your microphone when you are not speaking. During speaker presentations, type your questions in the chat.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone come with an issue that's frustrating them on WordPress? I like to defer to our users as opposed to our developers. Now, obviously, if you have a development or business issue that you want to put on the carpet tonight, if you're a developer or provider, you're more than welcome to this. We have two types of audience: those who know WordPress and those who are a little further back on the evolution. So, anybody bringing any issues with them?
Not really an issue, but some information. Past few meetings, and I think it was Mike had brought up the ADA compliance.
There's Mike. Hey, Mike. Good to see you, sir.
Hi, Mike. And I did find a plugin that seems to have taken care of it.
There's a couple of them. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, if you want to put the link
I will
for it in the chat, please do so. Yeah, anytime you folks have a resource you'd like to pass on to other folks, I truly believe a rising tide helps all boats.
Are
Raises
you
all
talking
boats.
about ADA, or are you talking about privacy policies, or are you talking about accessibility?
I'm going to say, from my limited knowledge, all of those.
Okay, yeah. Are you in California?
I am, and
Okay, what?
that's where I got really scared here. Um, you know, so I went hunting a little bit and found the company is called they call it an Access Widget. Accessible is the name of it. I'll put the link up there in a second. Um, and right on my website, I've got a little blue handicapped icon. You click on that, and when you do, you have all the various, vision impaired, seizure safe profile, ADHD friendly profile, and so on. And they can click them on and off. They can change the colors and everything. They also have basically as I understand, the legal statement. And I've spoken to the company, and they said if you get a letter from a lawyer, you send them that statement. And if the lawyer keeps going forward, they have kind of an in-house, I don't know how much they do, but they have some in-house counsel. And they're working for you. So
Hey,
that's good
Travis,
to know.
are you, is that something that you're paying a premium for?
I am. It's I think it's $49 a month, or my annual was $490, so 10 months get 2 free. And so I already set up the for a year. It literally took 2 or 3 minutes, and it scanned my website. There's a report you can download. Found a lot of like alt tags that were missing on photographs and such.
Yep.
And it does the best it can to fill them in for you. So it's actually fixing your website. I got to say, it wasn't perfect. I can see some of the alt tags, it's just scanning, I guess, using some AI scanning what the picture is and trying to give it a description. And some were correct and some were a little messed up, but I've been going through cleaning them up. So far I'm pretty satisfied with it.
Cool. Thanks for bringing that to us. Yeah, there's definitely some overlap between good or best SEO practices and ADA.
Yeah, Mike.
WP. What's the other acronym? WPA.
WCAG.
What's the other one, Mike?
The one from the Eurozone?
Yeah, WPAG or something like that.
I'll think of it in a minute. But there's you might want to look at Termageddon, which is one of the first ones in the space. They're a law firm that specializes in protecting for the privacy policies. And there are some accessibility sites that are actually free. $495 or $490 a year.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty steep price.
I've actually been on a call with them. They're good.
Yeah,
They're recommended. And if you're an agency owner, they give you a policy so you can help your clients out with them. So heads up, anyone in the marketing agency space, like Edward or anyone, they'll hook you up, and it's awesome. It's worth talking. They're good. Yeah, I would.
So
for anyone else, it's worth talking with them.
Agency coverage for that 500.
Yeah, but their pricing is about $100 a year, maybe up a little bit since.
119. They auto update everything for you, and that's a whole, like, this could be a whole rabbit hole discussion. It's a great option if you can't afford a full-time lawyer.
Right. Absolutely.
It's awesome. It's worth
exploring.
And
one thing that I'm not a fan of plugins. If a plugin is capable of scanning and monitoring, personally, I prefer to do the scans and keep track of them and just check from time to time. So at least I'm doing, because we're at the early stages of enforcement of this thing. So I'm not hugely concerned.
Back up a little bit there. For Termageddon, they update, but it doesn't actually scan your site, from my understanding. They have an auto-generated policy, just to be clear on that one, just so we're not confusing between the two topics here. But they will auto-update your policy if new laws come in. So it's not a full site. It's very specialized and focused. Just want to make sure it's clear there's a
Right.
distinction. And they should be separate.
There's three
Yeah,
parts.
but no, the point I was going to make, especially for new users, was that I prefer to have, if something has the capability of monitoring real time, full time, or just something, because we got to remember, app development is driven by information gathering. So if it's something that you've got that's constantly on, there's going to be a price you pay. So like for tools that have the capability to scan, I'd rather scan it, get my scan out of the way, do whatever compliance adjustments I need to make, and then deactivate it so it's out of the work loop, and it's not going to be taking up any, because I mean, some of these things will be going back and forth to mom, reporting on my activities, or actually slowing things down. So I try to.
There's actually three components to this. There's the legal requirement to disclose, which is what WP, Termageddon and some of these do, and so on your privacy policies. When you comply with like Eurozone or California, your duty to disclose is one part of it. As far as scanning your site, whether it's accessible, I'm a little bit with Edward here. Rather than having a built-in plugin, I would use something like wave.io, which is, I think, UCLA and some of the people that are on the cutting edge of accessibility issues. It will scan your site for free and it will tell you where your problems are. You don't really have to pay for a plugin, which is where I was kind of looking at this Accessibility, which looks pretty good. It definitely save you lawsuits, $500 a year. That's great.
No, that's the way I see it.
Yeah.
But
Hey, let me get back to intros. Because we will certainly be going into this mode more after Derek's presentation, but I want to get to Derek's presentation. So what we do is we go around and just take a minute or so, tell us who you are, where you are in the world, what it is you do, why you're here, maybe some ideas that you might have for our group moving forward, your biggest WordPress or business challenge. And I'm just going to kind of go by who I see on my screen here. And I'm going to ask Charles to unmute and go through the introduction. I'll go ahead and repaste the intro prompts in the chat. And so, Charles, you're on.
All right. So my name's Charles. I'm based out of San Antonio. I am a web developer, both freelance and I got a full-time gig. Not really sure about ideas for the group yet. This is only my second meeting with you guys, so
welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, and right now my biggest challenge at the moment is dealing with uncooperative plugin updates.
Oh, okay.
So, and it's a specialty issue. So.
All right, cool. How about Travis? You're next on my screen here. Go ahead and unmute.
There, am I unmuted? There we go. Travis from Southern California. I run my own small e-commerce site, and I basically figured out WordPress and the e-commerce on my own. So I'm always looking for something new and information as problems come along.
Cool. All right. Good to have you back again. How about Miss Lisa? Why don't you go ahead?
Everyone. I'm in Denver, Colorado. And a couple of years ago, I acquired a website, Denver by Foot. It's the place to find urban hikes in and around Denver. I'm new to WordPress and I'm trying to learn it on my own and I'm not succeeding. So I have a new goal to put more focus on this, but I do have a 9-to-5 corporate job that gets in the way. I'm looking for resources on how to learn and what else I can do as understanding how the site itself was built and maintaining it better. I've not added new content to it, only updated stuff. It's mostly like a blog on locations for urban hiking.
Great. Well, I'm glad you're here. I've done some hiking around Denver. Beautiful part of the world. I'm
Thanks.
imagining it's a little chilly right now.
It's very chilly. Yes.
My mom-in-law is up in Monument, so
Great place.
yes, it is. Absolutely. Well, welcome. And
Thanks.
we'll talk a little about learning resources, which brings us to the man himself, Magic Will Middleton.
Hey, yeah, so I'm Will Middleton. I've been working in WordPress now for like 7 years in the plugin and theme businesses, and yeah, just come to hang out and see what's going on in WordPress.
Okay, awesome. Good to have you here again, sir. How about Daniel? You've been here before, Daniel, haven't you?
No, actually, this is actually my first meeting here,
Really?
so I want to, yeah, yes, I'm the one that reached out to you like a couple of days ago to you.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So thanks for getting back to me. So, right, my name is Daniel. I'm from LA, from LA, California. So this is like my first time here. I actually have done some freelance work on the side as a front-end developer. Mostly I just work as like as a program assistant for which deals with a lot of like community outreach and all that. So and also I'm here to kind of get a better feel for like WordPress. I know it's a highly valued skill on especially in the tech world. So
We are the leading content management system on the planet. It's and running away too. So good to have you here. I'm glad you showed up. Daryl is going to be introducing himself at the beginning of his presentation here in just a few minutes. So how about we go over to Shirley? Shirley, you want to unmute and introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Shirley. I'm located in LA County. I just started teaching myself WordPress about like a few months. And I found this community on Meetup, looking for resources and who I can like reach out to if I ever like need any help. And so far I really like WordPress and I want to know more.
You still with us, Edward?
So I'll start that now. So if I can recommend, especially since we did head down a little bit into the weeds earlier, why don't we do the second part of what you suggested? If somebody has a question at the end of each slide, go ahead and put it in the chat and we'll come back to them later on.
Yeah, some of it is a little bit technical.
And we can also do a breakout room where Daryl can go if needed, where Daryl can go and specifically just go into Q&A. Okay. Although I have no idea how that comes across on recording.
Wait, am I trying to share?
I don't know if I can assign the breakout rooms to the recordings.
We'll do the presentation first and then we'll figure out the rest.
Anyway.
So I'm going to start sharing here. Okay. I'm going to mute everybody just so you know. Okay, good. I'm not muted. Okay. So does everyone see the screen? You can unmute yourself. Just mute yourself again if you got it. Okay. So how can I save you? Got all these windows everywhere. How can I save you $2,250 on Google Ads? All right, now I can see everybody. Okay, I'm just playing with my Zoom window here. Okay, good. There's 5 key areas that you need to address to maximize your success in Google Ads. The first 2 or 3 are more foundational. So much like any marketing campaign, you need to have a solid foundation. Is my camera on? Yeah, it is. Just double checking.
Yes.
You're 5 by
Perfect.
5 there, buddy.
All right. So the first one is, this applies to anything you do in business. You need to measure and track results. And only you know what matters. And the more accurately you can track it, the better you can get the return, and Google can optimize. It optimizes for what you tell it is working. Optimize your website to generate more leads and sales. If you're sending traffic somewhere, yes, you can dial in your ads to the best ad copy. All that's very important. But where you send the traffic, it has to be compelling. And when it comes to your Google ads, your offer and the creative, that's your ad copy, your images, your videos, they need to be as the top quality you can produce, the most relevant, because what you give Google to present to people in your offer, it can only work with what you give it. And I'll get into more details later on why, how you can tell it not to do certain things, but a lot of it is, it's equally important to give it quality and relevant information to disperse. And then I'm going to cover some best practices to help your Google Ads optimize faster. And what should you expect for a time frame and budget? What's realistic to start expecting results from Google? And I'll give you a hint, it's not one day. There is a certain amount of time you actually do have to let it spend and let it learn. So before you perceive it's not working, which is the hardest part if you're on a smaller budget, which is where all this comes together. Is it the right time for you to be running ads? Okay, so let's hop into the next part. Measuring and tracking your results. So when you're in Google Ads, it has many options for tracking. The most common ones are going to be a phone call, a form, or if you're e-commerce, a purchase. There's more, but for the sake of this presentation, if you focus on tracking one or all of those, that's a very important step. And why does it matter? Because Google relies heavily on what you're telling it to optimize for. And the more relevant it is, so there's different ways of tracking calls, for example. You can track clicks on your telephone link click on your site, but it'll optimize for spam bots. If you're using CallRail, it will only optimize for people actually calling. So the quality of how you optimize matters, especially with the AI, because a lot of the manual controls are going away. And the first step to setting up this tracking is to install Tag Manager, and then you can set up this tracking in Google Ads. This can be Googled, so I didn't go in depth on this. I have lots of documentation. I can always discuss that later at the end. Anything like this technical, we can have questions, or outside of this, I also offer consultation. So any of that, there'll be an opportunity to go more into the weeds there if needed. And that touched on to what I just mentioned earlier is the primary way to track most of these results will be your website. However, for stuff there, you may need a third-party platform that integrates with Google directly, which CallRail does and a lot of other key players. Shopify, I know it's WordPress, but they do out of the box of integration. So I'm giving an example here, whatever works. They can sometimes make it easier and or be more accurate. How to optimize your website. The first and foremost is, who are you? What do you do? Why should they care? and is it easy to take an action? And highlighting the benefits of your product or service. That should be very clear. If that's not clear on your website, you can have the most dialed in ad account. You're not going to make any sales, or you're not going to get a return because it will be poor. On your website, show your authority, show things that have worked, images, reviews. As far as imagery, that comes down to, so the compelling part here is your ad copy, your images, your videos, even the layout and the choice of colors. And a lot of websites lack CTAs or call to actions. When you're guiding them through that journey, can they go click and get what they want? I'd surprised how many I've seen. It's just a wall of text. And even if you want to take an action, they don't have that there. Make it really easy and have a relevant offer. Edward has a quick guide on this. If you want, you can share that later. I'm not going to go really into depth on this. It's just high level. This is a big part of having your ads work for you. So now on to the next. Am I going too fast? Is everyone good? Perfect. Yeah, and here, those are some examples of CTAs right here. Call us, a form, download a free PDF, something, whatever it is for the objective of the ad. The next is your offer and your creatives have to now, this is talking about the Google ad account, they have to align. So you have different objectives with each ad campaign. Some of them could be more, you could call it, oh, someone's joining. Her, just let her know we're on the presentation when she gets in. How do we?
Just keep going.
Why is it? You got it, Edward?
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right, so we now on to the third point. You're off here, creative has to align. So you have a top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel is the simplest. There's more. It means where are they in that whole buying journey on the marketing side? Are they learning about you? Are they getting to know if they like, know, and trust you? Are they ready to? Oh, sorry, I heard someone talk. Not good, right? You have to make sure that whatever you have aligns with that. So. Following down with that point, that's one way that you can save money right here. Test it organically. If you're able to put it out on social media, try it organically, so without paying too much money to as cold an audience as possible, without using paid ads, see what works, see what doesn't. If you have a proven offer before running ads, your success rate on Google Ads or any paid advertising is immediately going to have an advantage out of the gate. And if you have money to burn, yes, you can run ads to find opportunity and see what works. But a smaller business owner, you probably don't. Test it without running ads. That's the best thing to do until you find what works. And what do you test? You're going to be testing different ad copy, your images, your videos, and you're going to have different ways to test this. You can do it manually, say, hey, here's an offer, put it up, have people on then see what your response rate is. Does it go to leads? Do you get sales? Or if you want to speed it up, there is software out there that will automatically facilitate splitting traffic 50-50 to your website, etc. Google Ads and all these platforms offer what's called split testing as well. It'll divide the traffic for you. If you're on a budget starting out and testing your offer, put it out one at a time. What works, what doesn't, ask for constructive criticism and then learn from it. Dial that in. Right, so I think I just said this one here. All right, I'm going to put this deck out just to cover these points. Now we actually get more into the Google side of things. So the first three are really more the foundation. Those have to be in place before you should even consider running Google Ads. That's really a lot of savings right there. All right, so when Google Ads you first set it up, there's many settings, and there's some that work for some situations, but for most people they don't. So in this case, I've covered a few really common ones. There's more, but I find these ones, if most people change these, we'll find they save more money, it optimizes better, possibly quicker, and will save you money. So the first one is when you're targeting, by default, Google will include anyone interested. You want to set it to presence. Otherwise, if someone's in India, this is a great way to help prevent bots. And they say they searched, shoes in or contractor in Atlanta, Georgia, they'd see the ad. This reduces that. That's a very important thing to change. Unless you're a hotel business or hospitality, you would want presence because people will be searching outside your location. So there are situations where you do want that on. Display network. If you're running display network, use PMax or a Performance Max or a display campaign. Don't turn on the option in search. It's not really optimized for it. It's just showing text where there should be an image. It's a waste of money. So that saves you money right there. Negative keywords, they're definitely still a thing. And a quick way to manage them is to use a list, and these lists can be applied to your campaigns. And an easy way to manage them is there's 3 types. Exact match has a place, so if you know something very specific down to a T how it's spelled, you can use it. Or for the most of the time, to keep it simple, if you use phrase match, if it's more than one word, or just a single broad match, it does the same thing. A note about keywords and negatives. Everything in Google now, and this is an overarching theme with Google, is a recommendation or suggestion. If you tell it who to target, put in negative keywords, different factors, you're guiding it. If Google looks at different signals, such as someone's been looking for a plumber for the past 2 days, or any number of these different factors, it could still decide to show something even if you blocked it. Nothing is a complete block anymore. Google has this built-in idea that if it can get the result, it will, even if you said, I don't want you to sometimes, so don't be shocked. It doesn't do it too often, but it doesn't mean it's not working or the negative doesn't work because it will reduce it. It just forces Google to make sure it's more relevant. Yeah, and some other tips here, you can include audiences. So for search, you can do this. Say you're looking for a renter, you could exclude homeowners. The reason is, if it knows someone's a homeowner, it won't show that ad to them. And really, audiences are a collection of people, things they've been searching for, websites they visit. It knows a lot of stuff, right? If they've been looking to renew their mortgage, and it can pick those things up. And with audiences, another quick tip on that, a lot of new campaigns use that for targeting. So you can create your own audiences around keywords, websites people visit to help dial in who to target. So I didn't put that in here, but that's a bonus. So it works both ways. And very important is when you're building it out, they call it assets now. I put extensions, that's an older term because I've been doing this a while. So what that means is you've got call out site links, you can put images by your search ads, you can have your logo up here, all sorts of things can be done. Make sure you add more. Google will create some. It optimizes the space that fills up and gives more of these assets for Google to mix and match, and that's what it does. And make sure your ads are filled out completely as well. So if you have responsive search ads, I think I covered that in here. So yeah, I'm already hopping to the next point here. When you're creating the ads, you can put in the bare minimum. If you give it more and you give it high quality, relevant images, graphics, etc., it has more to test. It's very automated now. I mean, I don't know of any PPC specialist who runs manual bidding anymore. I actually don't think that's an option. I'm pretty sure they killed it off. So you really have to have your creative dialed in with your audiences now so it can optimize. It's more like Facebook now, a lot of it. If you're used to Meta, it's like that. And then another way that helps is install GA4. It allows you to see the stats in Google, but it also allows you later to build different audiences around different things that have happened. Say they bought, they haven't bought, they visited a certain amount of pages. Let's see on your site, you could make target them to help guide Google over time. And it starts building the audiences by the time the traffic has started going to your site. So the sooner you install it, the sooner it can collect data, and then the sooner you can start building them. And you have up to 2 years now you can set. So if you don't put this on right away, if you run ads and don't have this and decide you want GA4 audiences, now you have to spend money on ads for 3 more months to get that data. If it's assuming your ads is your main source of traffic here. If you don't have great SEO, it'll use GA4 will use all traffic sources, but if for a lot of companies, if their SEO and everything isn't that great and they're working on their presence, Google Ads is sometimes most of their traffic and they're paid. So it's very important that you have that data so you can remarket. And this is a fun one that everybody loves. How much should it cost? So I have good and bad news. It takes 4 to 6 weeks for an account to learn now, with all the automation on average. And you have to be patient. The reason for this, it likes to see it changes, but it wants 30 conversions usually with it for a month for most automated bidding to work. So this is where quality and quantity of conversions matter. So there's a balancing there. So 30 low quality conversions, say it was a bunch of spam bots or kids on a mobile app clicking something, the call and it doesn't get, it's going to optimize for that. So you want to make sure if you're a contractor, it's with something like CallRail and it was someone who legit called and wanted a project done. So we'll optimize this for 30 of those. And you do need enough. However, if your budget, say there's just not enough volume or your budget isn't there right away, you can still works. You just have to expect it to take, it can take 60 to 90 days. And sometimes longer for it to build up. So you can do it with less. And over time, it should be per month. But if say you ran 90 days and you had 50, it's not optimal, but it doesn't mean it won't work. At least then, because Google remembers in the past and looks at other signals. It's pretty smart now. I mean, Google knows a lot. It'll figure something out. And in the first 30 days, if you get 5 conversions with max bidding, the account is really not even close to optimized. So a great way to work around this is on a smaller budget. When I say smaller, I'm saying 5,000 or less, depending what you're doing. Because it stick to a few campaigns. So one strategy is I'll run a search, maybe just a PMax, because it combines your display, your YouTube videos, everything in one. And that's it. So maybe you have, your company brand, you bid on your own company name just to make sure you show up. And then throw in a PMax and maybe a third search for your key services. And if you do 2 to 3, you can maximize the budget to each one because the more budget it has, the faster it can learn, especially Performance Max. It's basically what it is. It's all the campaigns, shopping, your display ads, your search, your YouTube rolled into one. It'll figure everything out. It will do remarketing. It has enough settings. It can actually be more effective on a smaller budget. So give it enough it can learn and test because it has to test a lot of different placements and ad copy and learn audiences that you provide it before it starts working. And if you do all that, usually you can see results 60 to 90 days. I mean, no guarantee in all this, depends on your budget. But you should, within that range, you should at least be able to start seeing some results if you followed everything that was mentioned here. And these are links. I found some big good starter links on for courses you could take. So Merchant Center on, if you note here, that's the e-com. I didn't go into that. That's what's called your feed. So if you do e-com, WooCommerce links up with it, Shopify, that's what allows you to get the shopping ads. It explains how to set that up, and then you can figure out how you want to link it. If you do e-com or sell products, it's useful. They also have a free listing in there. And the rest is Merchant Center certification measurement. That's conversion tracking, their search ads, because that's where most people start. The AI powered fundamentals covers this at a high level. Google won't, the courses, I've been through some of them, they don't always mention the stuff I did. So I tried to cover stuff they may not always cover to try to round this out for you. And the main skill shop at the top, that's everything. So you can watch different stuff. They've got Google Analytics 4, Merchant Center. I even think they have SEO stuff in there somewhere. So lots of areas you can learn to get started. It's like WordPress.
You mind if I ask a quick question, Daryl? Do you have those links available to paste into the chat?
I'll do it after. I'll take it from the PowerPoint.
Okay.
A bit about me. So I run AYD Internet Marketing. I did it, and we specialize in PPC, Google, Bing, LinkedIn, paid social, and just general digital strategy. We've done it all, video, WordPress. We just really like to focus on the paid part, and we have a team we work with. I work with Edward for web design. I bring in people who are better than me at the other areas, and I just focus on being good with the paid. So that's how it works. I've done most of it, but over the years, been doing that since 2014, getting more into analytics as time goes on, especially Google Analytics 4, because that's it's been teaching people to use it. I've been learning it more myself, and it's a very powerful tool that every business should be using. I did a presentation earlier. Even if you don't do ads, you should have GA4 installed, just for the data. And you can track organically, people are doing forms just from other places, say organically your social. It gives you it helps you to measure your business no matter what you're doing. Bit about us, why are we different? We're performance, we're results driven, leads and sales, vanity metrics, on impressions, all that stuff. It matters. But in the grand scheme of things, it's, are you getting leads? Are you getting sales? What isn't working? Those stats indicate, yes, things to be adjusted by strategy, but we don't focus on that. Really, it's what's working, what isn't. And the data driven, we've mentioned GA4, using all the stats in how to optimize Google. It comes down to the data and then using your experience with time, but most of it needs to be driven by data and experience to back it up. Honesty. So what if something isn't working, we'll say it doesn't work, we need a solution. So I definitely will say this isn't working, and if we need creative, I'm not afraid to go and say we need this to make ads work. Because if you're not communicating then and given the opportunity and the ads fail, then whose fault is it? Mine. So I take accountability and say, well, let's work with you, but I'm always willing to offer a solution so you can scale, because I want your ads to do well so you can make more money, not just so I get paid, but so your business does better. And it's a two-way communication. There's some info. I'll put this in the chat here. And that was my presentation. Now I'll probably get swamped with questions. Here, I'll throw those chats in there.
Well, first of all, let's thank Daryl for presenting. Well done. Nice. I like
Was that
that.
too fast? Any feedback? That was a lot to go through, and I was trying to make sure it was on point. I wasn't too fast for anybody. It was a good.
Oh, you were too fast for some. But I do appreciate the presentation, and it's really good stuff. And this is when if I can make these comments, which is meant as constructive criticism, although
That's what I need. It was a tough one. I knew it would be
shouldn't be
technical.
criticizing you because you know your stuff. But half the people in this group, I'm sure it just blew right over them. They have no concept of it. The people that are beginning those acronyms, they're not going to be able to follow. Now, Chuck's in here. I suspect Magic Will, Edwards, they're cooking along with you pretty well. It's really good. But the beginners, I'm pretty sure they're lost at sea. And that's it's a difficult thing about the
Yeah, it
audience,
was two
right?
people
How
here.
do
That was
you
the
how do
two
you do it
groups.
for both of them? But and I've dealt with this a lot, where I'm dealing with some very advanced developers are trying to explain something, and I got to come back later and explain to these people what the guy who knows what he's doing is actually saying. And there's a little bit of that going on here. And it's a great presentation, and you're right on. You're a great guy in that space, but I'm pretty sure the 2 or 3 beginners in here are not getting the full impact of your presentation.
What
And
really matters?
Daryl and I
The nuts
talked
and
about
bolts.
this prior, and the idea of this presentation is not to teach Google paid ads. To me, there's 3 important takeaways. One, I think Daryl just saved you. For those who are new, I think I stand behind the claim, and it's a minimal claim, that Daryl just saved you $2,200, because a lot of money gets poured into Google Ads ill-advisedly. So if there are 2 takeaways beyond that, it is 1, you need ads. Nowadays, we live in a world where SEO has morphed to the point where, and we want to continue to build our websites with SEO best practices, because as Travis was pointing out earlier, or sent us down that road, compliance dovetails with good SEO practices, the tagging, and at the end of the day, Google is looking to send people to a hub, a website that has intuitive information. But the other thing is that guidance. There are things where DIY is a good idea, but keep in mind, folks, success on the internet is a product of 2 things. If time and money. If you have a lot of time, then you can, go ahead, teach yourself web design, teach yourself Google paid ads, teach yourself all the different aspects that go into directing traffic to put eyes on your products and services. But there are people like Daryl who are around to shortcut that for you, and you end up going, it's a very important point that Daryl made. People are always asking, well, how fast it's like with the SEO days, well, not that we're out of them, but how fast am I going to be on the first page of Google? And that sort of thing. People want to get results quicker. Well, so you may find that if you start making money sooner, then the amount that's charged by a professional like Daryl is well worth it. It's like what I do for WordPress users. I help bridge the content between this great resource, which it's free technically, and actually being able to use it well. And obviously Google Ads isn't free. You have to pay for the ads, but a lot of the Google tools are free. So anyway, I hope that helps.
Quick wins on this though. The beginning was actually like the word holistic, which is why I designed it. The last bit I was aware because it was teaching Google Ads, but at the same time, Edward and I were discussing this. I was like, how do I approach this? Because I can't teach Google Ads. I put it in chat. If you take those first 3 points, it's the basics of business. And if you take that third one, instead of ad campaign for Google Ads, replace it with my organic Facebook post. If you focus on that, you'll have success in your business. So really what it boils down to, success on Google Ads is understanding what you're offering and to who. All Google Ads is offering is a tool and way where it knows where the people are to place it in front of them. If you don't have that, you should not be running Google ads. That is how you easily spend more than $2,250 and say, where did my money go? That's also part of my job to say, no, you shouldn't be running ads. Talk to Edward.
And I talk to so many people over the years who've basically given up on marketing. You know, I mean, they literally don't believe that marketing. You know, it's especially frustrating when it's something that's in your bailiwick. You know, when somebody comes in, when you talk to somebody and they tell you that websites don't work, or or they make a similar statement in Daryl's realm that paid advertising doesn't work, or it's a scam, or whatever, and it can seem that way because certainly Google will give you plenty of opportunities to put money in their pocket, but there's no resentment like putting money in Google's pocket that doesn't bring you some sort of return, because at the end of the day, if you're not thinking in terms of ROI, return on investment, you're going to be frustrated. We should all be thinking in terms of those spokes I was talking about. Have a great hub. You've picked WordPress, so good for you. You know, that's the best CMS there is. Remember, you can build a really shitty website with WordPress, but you got to have those spokes. And one really great thing to have in mind is to budget part of your income towards ads. You know, and somebody like Daryl can, and whether it's Daryl or me in a more general sense, we'll talk to you. And
your book was linked in there, Edward. That's why I brought it up. Your book touches on the website. That in itself is a whole rabbit hole. And there's a question here about split testing. There used to be one called Google Optimize. We've discontinued it. It was free. There are other ones out there. I'd have to look them up. But off the top of my head, I can't recall one. But they are out there. They usually cost money though. Google had a free one, and it would work organically. But yeah, Edward has that book on the website. If you start with your offer and your website, if you're at the very beginning, everything relies on that anyways. Everything else is just tools to drive people there. All Google ads are selling you is, we have all this data on people, who they are, what they like, here's where you'll find them. It's your responsibility as a business owner to say, I have what you want, and it's good and relevant. Google's not gonna, just because it knows it, all it's doing, it's placing it. It's the billboard service. That's all it is.
yeah,
Yes. It's not magic. It's just, we have lots of data. We'll get it to the right people. And yeah.
Google tools are great tools that you got to keep in mind. They're always changing, and they can be a two-edged sword, and you just want to stay on the right side of the sword, and I know that Derek and I have run some ads, and just having his guidance, just simply going through, just knowing the portal. If you're a DIYer, you look to YouTube a lot. The thing about YouTube learning is that a lot of, this world that we're in moves fast. So a video that was even put out 6 months ago on a particular internet subject, I've done YouTube ad videos, watch them, and then you go and the tool has changed. The way they determine audiences, which is a huge part of what you do. If you're a marketer, determining who your ideal client is. If you want to be a little more sophisticated, identifying your avatar, who is that ideal client or clients, because many of us have more than one type of client that visits our website. It can be absolute amateur, somebody who's more sophisticated, and then somebody who's an absolute professional in that industry, who is looking for somebody to have on tap on a regular basis. So we'll have different audiences, and making sure that the website just isn't just pretty pictures and basic information, but when I tell you what, when you stopped thinking in terms of features and you start thinking in terms of benefits, I think you've turned the corner from whatever you were before to being an actual marketer. Because a marketer thinks in those terms. A marketer thinks less in, okay, I offer X, Y, and Z, and thinks more in terms of the client has these pain points and this is how I'm addressing them. And I tell you, there's, like I said, spending thousands of dollars on ads and realizing that you just didn't know how the tool worked. So, and believe me, Google is not going to say, "Oh, forget it." You don't have to pay
They'll
us.
shut you down quickly too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
If you do something wrong.
Yeah, you'll see they try at every turn to have as many of your payment options on file, and so if you run up if you say set up your campaign and set too high of a campaign limit,
They're a little better now. If
are
it's
they better?
higher now, they actually make you confirm. So if you were at 20 and you put 200, they'll actually make you go on your phone and hit confirm. So they do try to protect against that now. They're not, I mean, they've definitely gotten better at that. And the tools change. What's going to be after Google? I know there's Bing now, there's Pinterest, there's so many different ad platforms you can go on and where your audience is. And there's going to be new ones coming up. The tools change, it's solving people's problems. Google just happens to be a powerful one that's been around and helps lots of people and got good at it because it's in demand. So
And I
if
would
another
say,
tool came along, I'm not tool agnostic. I'm tool agnostic when it comes to advertising. I've run Bing, I've run some Meta. I mean, I've run a bunch. I will use what works. Google is for most people works. So there's your ask.
they're the ones that aren't industry or passion specific, but
Yeah.
that's part of the marketing journey is to once you determine who is it I want to talk to, ask yourself where is it they hang out.
Oh, exactly. Then is it Pinterest? Is it what? Where is it? Is it Reddit? Reddit has ads. I mean, everywhere will sell you ads nowadays if they're there.
TikTok, I'm keeping TikTok at arm's length, but
It works for e-com though. I've seen it for certain products. It does really well. Even if depending on your thoughts on, the back end of what you say it works, all that aside, it does work. Are there any questions, by the way? There were questions on other things we're discussing. So I'll to summarize from the discussion, acknowledge the second half got a little technical because that was the nature of I had two audiences and I balanced as best I could. Here's the one-on-one. Here's the first main things to focus on. It's more basic, important business stuff. It's not even marketing. Then here's a bit of technical. If you do it, just to give you an idea. And some things that generally cost people, waste them a bunch of money to try and, if you do start to run them, if you do want to, at least you have some really common things to start with that will save you money. So I hope that helped everybody with that. That's how it was balanced. It's really quiet.
No, that was a good presentation. I think you'll be able to use it well again in the future in other groups and that sort of thing. So thank you very much, Daryl. That was
it's a good presentation. One of the things, and I'm only really looking at the beginners here, is about setting up your GA4 early so that you have the data. Half the people here, they're trying to get a website up. And
you're just code in, right? I mean, if you get a plugin or something, you can Google that and just drop the code and be done. All you have to do is get the code on your site. I wouldn't even, don't worry about anything else. Just have it
get
there.
that data, start tracking early on. And then later on, when you start optimizing it all, and that was my point earlier on, is that a lot of the people that are still trying to figure out how to build a website aren't really ready to start marketing and monetizing and driving a lot of traffic when they can't even get the website built yet. That's
Fair enough, and they're not ready for
just a
Google. I
minor thing.
appreciate that too.
Yeah, that's not all.
I totally
And
get
no,
that. I would
your
not ever
presentation is
force
great.
that on anyone.
There's a lot of really good stuff there. I don't want to take away from.
No, not at all.
You know what you're doing, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Remember, the replay will be available. And I would ask you, we're trying to grow this group. We are now trying to do, by the way, next month, we're going to have Chuck Hardwick of Dancing Panda Marketing is going to be giving a presentation on search engine optimization, which is very much a related topic to what we're doing here. And we want to continue there's Derek. He suddenly jumped. And we're going to continue to do presentations. What's your question, Derek?
Better questions or comments. So, cool thing about SEO and the paid, it gives you what people are searching for. One thing, if you're ever thinking about that too, it's a great tool. If say you had $500 and you're doing SEO and you want to write blogs, and you're just like, I don't know what to do. I'm talking about, say you had 500, $1,000, it's the most you ever want to spend for a while. It'll give you a pile of search terms. And now you have content ideas and you know what to optimize for. So if you have a bit of a marketing budget, it can be a tool to help you with your content. So
We've got
other purposes.
We're in an age of, in the old days, marketing was ready, aim, fire. We've moved more to a ready, fire, aim, where we have tools where we can publish immediately. But when you move into the realm of paid advertising, it might be a good idea to nudge a little bit back to ready, aim, fire, especially if you are, we have to recognize that the WordPress world is attractive to many of us because it's open source. There's no ongoing, we don't have to pay for WordPress. We don't have to pay ongoing licensing fees for the software itself. It's a different story for plugins and themes and what have you, but it's a remarkably budget-friendly platform. That being
100%.
said, there are ways to waste your money, and one of them is to start on the paid ads path ill-advisedly. Like I say, in my case, I've spent many hundreds of dollars that I'd rather would not have spent stupidly, because when I look back at it now, I was like, duh, I was marketing in areas and to interests that I should not have been doing. And it was mostly, I will confess to some degree, there were some third-party marketing assistance that Google was providing rather vigorously that turned out to be not as competent as they purported to be. That kind of led me down that path. But, Google still got my money. There was getting away from that. But anyway.
Yeah, don't run it just for the keywords. It is something that when you're running it, you do get that insight.
Yeah.
Which I know people have used to guide their blogs and whatnot. So as long as you're running when you're ready to run them and you're running it and it's performing reasonably well and you're ready, you've now got that at your fingertips because now you can use all your other tools, but it gives you additional insight into other areas of your business. Because and you pay Google, oh, now they want to give you more information. Wow. Wonder why. They're all pay to play. LinkedIn's the same thing. If you pay for LinkedIn ads, boom, it unlocks demographic information for you. Like out of nowhere.
We've discussed that.
Play these free platforms and you pay, all of a sudden they're willing to share. They're not going to give you all of the juicy data, but they'll give you a lot more.
LinkedIn is still kind of playing catch up to platforms like Facebook and Meta and Google and Twitter and the other ones that are a little bit more they're a little happier at taking your money. You know, LinkedIn is still trying to be your friend. So there are some advantages to working in that platform that I've noticed.
Yeah, and they're pretty honest. And it's very unique if you're B2B. I like too, because not a lot of people do it. That's why Google and LinkedIn are my two main ones. LinkedIn's still kind of unknown, and I like B2B, so I find it a fun platform. It's like Meta, but a more, it's just a better, basically it's like Meta, but better, and it's B2B. It's hard to, I just like it more. It's managed better. And
Yeah.
so what's a good plugin for adding code to your site? Because Travis was asking me about Analytics 4. So I linked him to Google Analytics 4. Did I put Google Analytics 4 in my presentation? Did I just throw an acronym without thinking? I should fix that if I did. I might have.
You referenced it. I don't know about your slides, but you definitely.
I'm gonna fix it. Normally I put it in and then I put it in brackets what it is. Here, I'm gonna fix it right now.
For people like
future.
Lisa, Lisa, you still with us? She was pointing out
Yes.
that she's learning WordPress on her own. One of the things that, GA4 refers to Google Analytics, which is a free tool that allows you unbelievable insights into the performance of your website. Very deep waters, and not all of them are maybe something that I would want to send you down initially, but just know that part of your journey should be to learn how to see if your website is effective, because nothing is worse than to put a whole lot of time into something and look at it and go, that's a dang pretty website, and be all proud of yourself, and you don't know if it's having, at the end of the day, the phone either rings or does not. But between, building it and that first phone call is being able to, I use the analogy of a store. If you built a store, you could literally stand anywhere in the store and watch how people interact. They go down this aisle, they look at that end cap, they put something in their cart, when they're at the cash register, if you have some doodahs there, they might throw them in. And being able to do that virtually using an analytic tool that will tell you how the world is interacting with your website can help you to put things in their path, can alter paths, you can put promotional material, you can put links, you can put lead magnets, little freebies that we give to people to coax them into giving us their email.
Right offer at the right time. There's different ways. Yeah, exactly. E-com, and it even applies too if you're a service business. You may have a page where they go to learn about you. Now here's a free book, then they get further. And then there's stuff you can give after. Hey, you bought this from me. Yeah, so many things you can do. Right offer at the right time. That's the whole art of keeping people going, no matter what you're using.
Yeah.
Paid, organic, are they on your website? Doesn't, yeah, it's the same. It's all concept. Once you get these key concepts, there's business marketing concepts, the tools can change, but the concept stays generally the same. And there's some things that change, through culture and different things with time. The concept remains fairly static though, which is really a good thing. Once you master it, you've mastered it. And you can pretty much mix and match it with almost anything else.
So before I start going into kind of a wrap up, we had Charles was saying that he was having some issues with uncooperative plugins, but he jumped off, unfortunately. Daniel, you had expressed some interest in maybe giving a presentation to this group in the future. Have you reached out since I replied to your comment in the chat on that?
No, it wasn't about like presenting. I want to learn a little bit more about WordPress development. That's all. I think there was there was some confusion around there. So I'm sorry about that.
Well, no, we could certainly have a talk about that. I'd be happy to talk to you about that. That is a very You know, I mean, I don't know if it is that you're you're wanting to learn WordPress development.
Yeah, there was, I mean, the thing is like, one of the, basically when I used to work with like more of a, an experienced developer at one point, earlier during, like, I think last year, he and I were working on some Shopify sites, and he did mention stuff like WordPress, and he said something about like you can make a WordPress without necessarily learning PHP, but you could alter the CSS with it. So I was kind of wondering how that process would be. So
Okay, well, that's certainly outside of the realm of even a 40-minute Q&A situation. It's really outside the realm of what we do. I will tell you that, you know, myself, I started down the WordPress path years ago. There used to be a learning platform called lynda.com, which was eventually purchased by LinkedIn. It's now part of LinkedIn Learning. You know, I mean, at the time I was, excuse me, I think I was paying, I started out with their basic plan and then moved into their more advanced plan. The only difference being that you had some files, because a lot of the things that they let you, that you learn on these platforms, you're actually like building a website, or you're creating a piece of art in Illustrator or whatever, and they would let you have access to the files along the way. So if like you just came in and, you know, video 4, and anybody who had been part of the video course up to that point would have created this. Well, you can download the file at whatever point. Same goes with a website. You know, if you're developing a website, they would have a file that you could see, you know, at that point. So you didn't have to learn what is being offered in video 5. You don't have to do 1, 2, 3, and 4, which, you know, probably for you probably should watch 1, 2, 3, and 4, but eventually it's handy to have as a resource. So you know, look at LinkedIn Learning. Again, YouTube is a great resource, but make sure you vet those videos really well and check the dates, check the number of views, like everything else, you know, like we do in the WordPress, where we vet plugins and themes and everything. Make sure.
Another thing too is if anyone ever needs to, whatever reason for their website was looking to Shopify, there's a version 2.0 that rolled out about a year or two ago, and it's based off JSON files, I think it is, instead of their old liquid. So you have to make sure even with them you're learning your modern stuff.
Mike, have you put your links in?
I'll put some links in a minute. I just want to make a comment. LinkedIn Learning is free if you have a library card. You can get all those courses.
Unfortunately, not in San Diego.
Are you kidding me?
Not ever. No.
As LinkedIn said it was. They told me it was. But okay, I'm sorry that that's not the case in San Diego. Rest of the country, usually the case. But as far as if you're using a modern block-enabled theme, you can pretty much do almost all of this now on these entry-level websites. You don't need to know any code. You don't need CSS. You don't need to know PHP. You don't need to know HTML. These advanced themes are pretty amazing right now. But you definitely want to have a widely adopted theme, 500,000 installs or whatever, well supported. And yeah, you can produce a website in pretty much no time. And
I'm still up against the fact that a lot of the more popular themes now are wanting you to install Elementor, and I'm always reluctant to add.
Yeah, I advise against that. I haven't used Elementor in 5 years. I mean, you really don't need it.
I told you the theme I've been using for like 5 or 6 years suddenly did a complete paradigm shift, and Elementor is a required.
You're using like Avada themes, aren't you, or something? Aren't you in the?
No, I've tried Avada, and UDesign was a better theme for what I liked. It was more flexible, It came out of the box very plain. Well, it was a completely clean.
Yeah, the question of themes, if you're, Astra's got 1 million installs, well supported.
I use Astra, and it's got
Astra's
good
very, very
plugins.
powerful, low, good theme, works with everything. I use Cadence 4 or 5 sites. If you're going to be using WooCommerce or e-commerce, their storefront default theme is pretty good. But there, and Generate Press is a pretty good one. But you really want a theme that's got 500,000 installs and well supported and well updated and wants to be block enabled using the block editor, not the classic editor. You don't want to use a theme from 8 years ago that hasn't been updated in a couple of years. Now there's a bunch of good themes out there. Don't get me wrong. There's new ones coming all the time. But if you're just getting started, get a well-established theme, well supported, because most of your security issues, updates, that's what the updates are about. They're patching security flaws. Same thing with your plugins. So when you get you're using Astra with 1 million installs, or Cadence with 500,000 installs, or Generate Press with probably 800 installs, you have a well-supported, well-maintained theme, and you can do almost anything you want with it. Now, there's a few other ones out there that will probably work for you, depending on your particular situation, but you don't want to have some theme that's got 100 installs and hasn't been updated in 2 years, because you're probably going to get hacked right away.
But even Astra Pro, the pricing on it, something like $20 per
Pretty
year or something
reasonable.
like that. It's not that much, and it's well known.
Oh yeah, I'm able to use the free Astra for several of my clients. It works just fine. But it
Oh,
depends
you
on what
just
you want
have to
to
make
do.
sure on the bottom, if
Well,
you
it's
read
always the
legal, you
footers and
have to say it's
headers.
free, otherwise they can sue you.
Oh, I don't know about
If you read
that.
the fine print, I did that for someone once. I used the free Astra, but you're supposed to say this was built with the free theme. Double check that. I was caught on that
I
once.
will
I
have to
built
check on that. Thank you for pointing that out to me, because I do have a couple people on Astra.
if it's free. I'm saying if it's a free one, just double
Free
check
one,
it. Yeah,
yeah.
I didn't know that. At
I
one
get what
point,
you're
I'm like,
saying.
oh crap, and I added
No,
it.
no, no.
A lot of-
That's yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
finding it. Well, I mean, it's a world in general, but we're finding a lot of things we used to be able to get away with. We can no longer get away with.
That's
It
pretty
is, but you're
sneaky,
apparently
right?
supposed to declare with a link back to them, which I
Yeah,
didn't
they
expect
want
that at the
they want
time.
attribution is what they want. They're
Yeah.
saying. Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
yeah,
fair
exactly.
enough. But I mean, if the paid version is only $20, I would say
Or
pay.
something like that. It's not that much. That's the
Yeah.
pro basic one, and you can make a whole site off it. Hey, how
Oh,
is
yeah.
Spectre? I think they put out Spectre. It's supposed to work with Gutenberg. Is that any good? Anyone
Are you
used
talking
it?
about the Spectre plugin?
I've
The
got some.
builder. It's supposed to be a Gutenberg based, heavily integrated. So it's not like Elementor where it's just a complete own. It's separate.
Yeah, there's the
It's
Spectre. Are you
heavily
talking about
integrated Gutenberg, I think.
for the templates, right? The Spectre templates is what you're talking about?
Yeah, and then they have that builder.
Gutenberg is the plugin now. When Block Editor came out, they called it Gutenberg, but the Gutenberg now is all the beta stuff that's probably going to be in WordPress core in a year or two. But that's cutting edge. It's the Block Editor is WordPress core. And there's Spectra, there's Generate Blocks.
Spectre, that's what I
Cadence
mean.
block.
Spectre, is that one good?
Yeah, it is pretty good, but a lot of developers are moving away from it because they're
Yeah, you have to be careful though, because I mean, at the end of the day, if you get happy with adding expansion plugins to the block editor, which many of us did, especially starting out early on, where the editor was less than what it is now, then you build, and it's not readily visible. You can use various plugins in the same page. I had this, I think it was with Spectra, where I decided, well, I'm gonna cut down on the number of expansion plugins I'm using, and you have to be really careful, because a part of your site, your page, can go away, and because at the end of the day, it just adds it to your list of blocks. So if you have some Spectra blocks going on,
Well, I've been using Elementor, but it works. It's only my site. For a client, that's different. I don't know. For a client, since I don't build websites, it's different. It's just my site, and there's Elementor. I guess because Gutenberg wasn't that good when it first came out. So to me, but yeah, I mean, building it for a client, if I usually outsource that anyways.
No, there was definitely a climb, a learning curve with Gutenberg that I mean, on the one hand, I celebrated that it was coming because I liked the idea of having an advanced editor that was in the core, but it was like suddenly we're not in Kansas anymore, and there's been several times where that has taken me by surprise. Oh crap. Revolution Sliders completely changed their dashboard,
I guess there's some stuff to learn on. I was just used to Elementor coming from Divi and WordPress Aster, and the amount that I did anything, I thought, this works.
They're powerful tools. I haven't used them for 5-6 years now. But let me ask you a quick question. So are you using Spectra for their starter templates, or are you using it for their block extensions? Email? So
I didn't use it because I didn't know if it was good. I was thinking about testing it out, but I didn't know if it was good because there's all these different builders, and I'm not in the weeds on web building all the time, and I don't even build websites for clients really. So I thought maybe it'd be better for me.
Almost everybody that I'm bringing into the space now, I don't use no page builders. It's code on top of code, and there's so much power in the block editor on the themes that you don't really need it. But Spectra does add additional blocks to the editor. The Generate Press does it. CoBlocks does it. I use Generate Blocks quite a bit with Cadence.
Generate Blocks. Okay.
Yeah, it's only 6 blocks, but they have a container and a grid. They have buttons and headlines, and what they do is they help you format very, very easily. And it works with any theme, any block and every theme. But Spectra does some of that too, right? But Spectra has starter templates. So if you're using Spectra for the starter templates versus Spectra for extending the block, because you know how you can keep adding blocks into the block editor from all sorts of places, because fundamentally you can do that, right? You say, I can't get the block I want, I load it into the editor, and then suddenly I go, right? I don't recommend doing too much of that. If you stay close to core and don't put a lot of like page builders on, your site's going to load a lot faster on mobile. It's going to be way more efficient, and you're less likely to have conflicts later on as they do updates over the years, right? So even though it works really good now, and I know some of the best people with Elementor and Beaver Builder too. And even they are starting to say, yeah, I don't know why, man. It's like they're starting to recommend people don't build in that extra code if you don't need it. And most websites.
Here's the thing. I mean, we've watched as page speeds and how they relate to SEO continue to diminish because, quite frankly, fundamentally, people's attention spans get tinier and tinier and tinier.
Wasn't it? It's 2 seconds now, 3 seconds, you've lost them.
Yeah, exactly. And
yeah, it's a big part. And even with anything you're doing, you're sending traffic there. Okay, so if I use something that's very close to the core, you can still get the type of features you would get with something like Elementor without straying too far from it. Maybe when I rebuild it, I'm probably end up rebuilding my site again. I just need something up right now. I'm going to use what I have because I need it done, but then I'm going to be building a more custom one after. So this is more what this is about.
The Elementor and Beaver Builder are very powerful tools. You can do an awful lot with them. So I'm not dissing them too much.
No, you can, but I mean, you pay the price.
Yeah, but the point I'm still trying to make is really your performance is going to be your hosting more than it is going to be, right? If you got cheap hosting, right, it doesn't really matter. When you do load on the page builders and too many plugins and stuff, it will slow your site down a little bit, especially on mobile.
Yeah. Oh, got it. Okay. Yeah, I usually don't go for the cheapest. I usually go for mid-tier or something with some caching.
Yeah, even the cheap will work for a lot of people. Mid-tier works for a lot of people. But when you are running like Elementor on top of WordPress, your problem really is more about future conflicts. The WordPress will update, Elementor will update, plugins will update, and something won't work with Elementor. And then you're going to spend all your time to figure out, well, is it WordPress? Is it the plugin? Is it the page builder?
And Spectra is, you know, the thing about Spectra is I probably have 3 different plugins that expand Gutenberg and like will create, you know, a columns
Can you
block.
show me those? Like which ones I do? Because I don't
One of-
spend a lot of time in this. Like I do other stuff, mainly since it's for my site. Because I have one. It's a template Astra. My plan is to rebuild a way better custom one. I'm just modifying a template because I need something more modern. I just don't know what to build it on because I don't spend hours researching this because I'm doing other parts of
Why don't we
things
do
like
that
ads and
off?
stuff.
Why don't we do that off of
Yeah,
this?
let's do that. That's why I'm asking all these questions. It's
I'll
just
show
I
you
get
that
lost
stuff.
Googling and I move on to other stuff because
Because the thing about these different expanders is you'll end up with a situation that I come across. It's like, you know, you want to create a particular structure and you type that structure in and you will have several different options, you know, and there will be different parameters that you can tweak on each one. I like this about this one. I like this one about this one. You make your best choice based on those, but you end up like, I don't know if, can you guys still see my screen? Wow, the Spectra has already powered over 5 pages on your website. So what that means, if I turn Spectra plugin off, those 5 pages will do things, and I don't know which 5 pages they are. I would have to do some diving. It's not like it's readily available to me. Okay, Spectra is doing this particular block on this particular page. There's going to be a little bit of time. It's not as fast as I would like it. But I did it just recently where and I had the wherewithal to go checking the main pages that I was concerned about, and I found, and one of them was a landing page which had some importance to it, and I looked at it and was like, oh crap, you know, that's we're not in Kansas anymore, like I say, so.
It's another call. I get so WordPress for me and all these fine-tuned things. It's like someone who's not doing ads all the time. I have certain things I want to focus on in my business, things that I do. There's a reason I don't do certain things. So a lot of that stuff that goes over the head in that present in people's heads that I did in that presentation, some of it did, some more than others. I get like that with WordPress because at the point I just choose. I don't need to know it all. I just need to know what matters.
You're okay with
Yeah,
Astra. I don't know about Spectra.
Love Astra though.
Add-on
It's
blocks.
the best theme of it does everything.
Astra is pretty, it's low, it's very lightweight. You can do a lot with it. And
well,
it's low-
Astra is the theme.
And it's a-
Spectra is
Yeah,
a
it's the
plugin.
builder part where I get confused. So I understand why Elementor can cause problems down the road, but Gutenberg, unless it's way better, it was terrible, and I couldn't make the site look good. So I don't know, is it better
yeah,
now?
4 or 5
Like,
years ago, it was crap.
having minimized while still going close to the core. I just want to be told how to do it.
Yeah, but Astra can do
Basically.
all that now, right? That's 4 or 5 years ago, that was absolutely right. But now most of your modern block element themes, they're crushing it, man. It's like,
Really? Straight from
Will,
WordPress?
you can use
you look like
Astra, you can use Cadence, you can use Generate Press, you can use Bloxy.
Okay.
There's 20 themes up there that'll be fine.
So Astra plus Gutenberg. All right,
Well,
maybe I need to look at
Gutenberg is a beta plugin.
I want to give equal time to folks. Magic Will, you look like you might have something to contribute. Did you
Yeah,
want
we'll have another call on this.
yeah.
Okay.
No, I didn't really have I was just kind of laughing in the background because I go back and forth on Elementor all the time. I give I mean I just fixed a bug in the WordPress core related to like checking a variable before passing it into a a function that would break it because it was passed down from Elementor some code bugs. So when you have like abstracted layers of code, like if there's Elementor that updates that breaks compatibility with plugin, it was sending like an error into the WordPress core. So I go back and forth all the time, but I gave a talk at a WordCamp about leaning into the block editor, so it's kind of funny.
How was that manifesting?
With
At the end of the day, what was it doing to the actual site?
Oh, so there was a map of the locations that this company has across North America, and we're using advanced custom fields and Elementor and a dynamic like 3 zeros plugin to show this map, and some values weren't filled out in advanced custom fields, so it was like passing into the WordPress core to create an array out of the fields. Some of the values were null, and then it said to count the values in the array, but the previous function returned false, so it tried to count false, and so then I just fixed the bug. But it was fixing a bug in the WordPress core, but it was related to Elementor and what was happening down the line. But they loved the design of Elementor, and so we're like,
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, we live in a world. I mean, it's a really great Lego set or erector set, but the thing is to be really careful that you don't start get lured by the ease. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, like Mike was saying, you're better off staying closer to the core, especially if you're somebody who's just new to the WordPress world. There's great benefit in the KISS principle. Keep it simple, Sanchez. And I'll let you guys use that principle yourselves.
I used to use Divi, where you had to put in code. Divi was like weird. It was supposed to be this WYSIWYG, but you still had to Google no CSS. It's an interesting one. I built on that one for years.
yeah, well, I mean, it's the Peter Parker admonishment. You know, with great power comes great responsibility. You know, and especially if you're new, the distance between great responsibility and oh shit, what just happened, can be can be a scary one. You know, I'm not trying to frighten you off there, Lisa, because we're not going to deprive you of the learning curve, but we can mitigate it. So
The majority of the time, you keep a site simple. If you're not doing too much, you generally don't have a lot of problems. If you use Elementor, they're pretty powerful from my experience. I'm not an expert on WordPress anymore. Like, I know enough to work through it and get to the code of it. I'm not, I've been in the back end of it, but I'm not necessarily up to date on the latest stuff. But definitely, if you're not doing a complicated site and don't have 500,000 plugins and stuff like that, it's
well,
generally pretty stable. As
here's
long as reputable plugin is kept simple.
I've said this so many times, man. I can build you the ugliest site on the planet, but if it makes you $100,000 a month, you're probably not going to be complaining. You know, so it does all come to the priority needs to be on the messaging. Yes, WordPress is a great tool, but it doesn't supersede, all the best bells and whistles in the world, all the pretty pictures, all of that stuff. At the end of the day, it's about having your basic marketing in place, identifying your ideal client, making sure that your messaging is directed to them, making sure that those ancillary spokes are intelligent and within your willingness to maintain, because I mean, a lot of small businesses, man, they go back, they suddenly realize, oh crap, I'm supposed to be doing all this stuff. There's social media, there's email marketing, there's paid ads, all this sort of stuff, and then they go into a flurry, do a bunch of stuff badly, and then do nothing. I regularly say, if I can get you doing one thing regularly, and messaging should be a big part of that regularly, we can, you can get there. What's up, Daryl?
I know I'm better. We should answer any final questions. It's almost 8 o'clock, and
Yeah.
probably start wrapping it up, because I know I'm on a tangent. I'm still, yeah. So there's a question from Lisa. Let's run through questions, and we can always schedule calls with people separately outside of this, right? So everyone here, if you want to connect with someone one-on-one, you're welcome to message them, get their email, whatever, or have another Zoom and connect, right? That's the point of this as well. So, but yeah, I need to be off at 8. So, who wants to answer Lisa's question?
Well,
It was me, I would build a new site at a certain point. It depends how invested, how old it is, and how much work. You got to know both by the site. I rebuilt mine because it's old. But I mean, what do the other experts say here?
Yeah,
in WordPress?
and that's the thing. I mean, when you're looking at an existing site and starting to interact with it, sometimes, yes, it can be actually easier to build a new site and move the content over. It's hard to answer, universally. It depends on the site. But if you see there, you're more than welcome to schedule a free chat with me. I'll take a look at your website and see what I think, you know. And I won't try to make money off of you if it's unnecessary, you know.
How much
but-
content do you have on, how many pages do you have on the website?
That's a good question. I'm trying to still inventory all the amount of content that's there.
Okay.
It's a bunch of blog posts, and then it's mapped by the area within the city that things are located.
Okay. I'll reach out to you and we can chat about it.
Thanks.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Now, I feel like I should reach out to Shirley and Tiffany. We haven't heard from them. Did you ladies have any questions, any concerns, any unanswered wonderings about Daryl's presentation or WordPress in general? Anything that we can help you with before we call it a night?
This is Tiffany. I think I'm okay. I learned a lot. I knew a little bit about Google. I've had our Google ads. I've had Shopify stores before in the past. And so I thought the presentation was really good. And, you know, it's always that web that you have to go through to figure it out. So I learned a lot and remembered a few things, but I think for right now, I'm good.
Okay, great. I will remind everybody to save the chat. Daryl put some really good resources in the chat. Mike, did you put your stuff in there? Is Mike still with us? Maybe we lost. Oh no, Mike's.
You can email out the presentation too if I send it to you.
I'll put a link to one of my meetups here.
Yeah, Mike. Daniel's gone now. I was going to say that because he was talking about Shopify, we wanted to. If you didn't know about WooCommerce, point him down that road as an alternative to Shopify.
It's an interesting one. I kind of like it because it integrates with stuff, but it's a love-hate. It's also a pain in the butt. At the same time, it makes things easy. So that in itself is a whole discussion for a meeting.
I put people
Shopify versus WooCommerce.
I've been running a WooCommerce meetup for 4 years, and I still put people in Shopify because it's simple. They pay more. They don't have as much control, but if they're not going to pay for a developer, and they're not going to learn it.
Well, and there are people,
Right.
you know, who belong more on Wix than they do on WordPress. I mean, that is.
I don't put people on Wix or
Shopify is above Wix. I use a lot of Shopify for clients. It's got, yeah, that's all stated. It if you're willing to live within its ecosystem,
Yeah.
I have found that I can live it as a whole. It works. It's a use case scenario.
Yeah, Shopify, Etsy, Amazon, that's different than Wix and Squarespace. Right? I don't put people in Squarespace or Wix, but I will put them in Shopify because, you know, they're not going to learn it. They're not going to pay to have it done, and they want to have a store right away. Okay.
A lot of the determining factor is, are you looking to grow your business? If you are, then you will hit the ceiling on most of those.
Oh, no, I'll tell them you should have your own website and then share to these other platforms because they will censor you. You'll wake up one day and you can't get to your site and all your content's gone.
Yep.
You know the workaround a lot of companies do with time? They may use Shopify or a big commerce. And but they run it on subdomains. They end up with this weave of e-commerce platform because they love that, but they want the customizability of WordPress, and they're this big custom solution instead of WooCommerce and WordPress. Many ways to do it, and and now we're going in a whole thing from the beginner. So you can do it as little as you want or as much as you want.
It's the rent versus buy. If you control your own website and then you share it to the other platforms, you'll always have your content on your website. But if you live on Facebook or you live on these other, and they decide they don't like your politics or your product or something you said, it's all gone.
Or even if they increase their prices or they
add fees. Yeah, that's the biggest argument about against Shopify. It's expensive.
One thing that's really common in this world is that companies get bought out, and then they do a complete redesign, and suddenly, crap, I don't like this. Oh, there's somebody in the waiting room. Oh,
Shopify does a good job. I'm not dissing them, and you can certainly do pretty well selling on Amazon.
oh, we
That's
got two Tiffany's.
It's me in the waiting room. I was trying to save the chat, and I can't do it from my. I can't
Yeah.
do it from my phone, so I
Right,
logged back in.
yeah.
Sorry.
It kind of sucks, and text files are tiny, so you would think they'd figure out some way to allow people on mobile platforms to save a simple little text file that's a few kilobytes. But no, they haven't gotten around to it, so we'll continue to grumble about Zoom. So, did you get a chance to save that, Tiffany? You just hit those three three dots in the chat window, and it gives you some options. One of them.
save it to your.
Yeah, I think it's still loading for some reason. When I get on the computer, I don't. There's nothing in the chat. Let me just.
Yeah.
You lose the
Right.
chat when you rejoin.
Oh.
You can PM your email address, and I will send you the chat if you'd like.
Okay. Perfect. Let's see.
Put it
How do
in the
I even
chat.
do that? Oh, I see.
You can put it in the general chat, and everybody will get your email address, or you can just send it to me, and I leave it up to you. Everyone here, I believe, is rather trustworthy, and it's not gonna.
No, I understand. I think I just figured it out. I have to. I'm sending it right now.
There you go. There you go. Okay, got it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's
I think Daryl's got a comment, don't you, Daryl? Or are you done?
I do.
I have a comment.
For the presentation, are you sending out a recap email, Edward? Or should we, for emailing it out? Because I can just send a PDF of my presentation.
And next time, today I had a meeting with a mentor, and I used the AI companion. Have you guys used that yet? And then
you didn't answer my question.
No, I am about to answer your question.
Okay. All right.
I will. But first on, I'll say this, that when you use the AI companion, you receive an email from Zoom, which does a good job. I was surprised, does a really good job of giving a recap of the meeting with bullet points and all that sort of stuff. So in terms of sending out a recap, I'm not going to be doing that myself, of this presentation. However, we are going to, I did, when I came back in, I found that there was a Zoom file waiting to be converted. So I should be able to put in, combine the two files, the recording that we made that started right before your presentation, and also the preamble for our meeting. So I will then.
Okay, so that PDF then, I wanted to make a PDF of my presentation because in case someone wants it, I'm just wondering, should we send it out or should people ask me for it? I'm just because of what do we normally do? Because
no, you should, if you want a PDF of your the actual PowerPoint, just do it from PowerPoint.
Yeah, the PowerPoint. No, because protocol, because we're doing more of these presentations, someone might actually want it just as notes. So it's just points, right? It's more like a checklist. Someone might be interested if they wanted it.
Are you going to put it in the meetup.com chat, or are you going to send it out in the email?
Right.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's different ways to do it. We never really established it.
Yeah, but there's no way to PDF a presentation that is.
Yeah, there is. I can save it as a PDF.
No, but it's not going to have your presentation and your.
Yeah, well, I can save it as a PDF, and it's
they
a
do it
PowerPoint.
all the time. You'll get an email from the meetup.com that'll have the recording, whether you put it on YouTube or not. So there's multiple options, and I think that's what Daryl's asking. How do we distribute?
What's on the PDF?
My PowerPoint I just presented on Google Ads.
Okay, but that doesn't give your vocal performance, is what I'm saying. Yes, that's why
we're talking about two different things. I'm not disagreeing. So the first question is, how did we want to deliver that? I can get everyone's emails and do it for mine, but we have Meetup because last time I sent it to a few people, there's more people. I'm trying to establish what the protocol is going forward because we're getting more people and we're doing this more frequently. So I
Okay.
was trying to, I want to do it consistently after this.
This is probably a conversation you and I should have after this. But in the meantime, you do have access to the chat. You as event host also have access to being able to message people through Meetup. You know how to export the presentation as a PDF of your slides.
I just did it. Here, I'll upload it.
I'm going to wrap it up so we don't keep dragging this out.
All right, everyone, I'm uploading it right now. It says it's restricted.
Right. Well, we'll sort that out. We'll be fine. Don't worry. All right. Hey, Mike, thanks for being. Lisa.
Thanks, everyone. If you want the presentation, you can connect with me. I put my information in the chat anyways. We'll sort it out.
Yeah, well, no, you'll absolutely have the presentation. But it will be, the video will be available as well.
You can put it in.
Yeah, we'll do both. Perfect. We'll do both. We'll figure out how we're gonna do this moving forward to make it perfect.
Yeah. Daryl, thank you so much for your presentation. It was really interesting. And Edward, as always, thanks for hosting.
Nice seeing you, buddy. You guys have a great night. Thanks for being here.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for attending.